Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
no authority under our charter to change that. All right, they can submit it, it comes to us. The select board can submit it, it comes to us. Sometimes they can all agree on it quite early. Sometimes they will agree on it later as we get more figures. Sometimes they won't agree on it and we will make decisions. That's our job as a finance committee. We are the ones that have to recommend a balanced budget to town meeting. That's how the process works. And that's why this year, with some clarification for various, whatever reasons, there was clarification on that. And, that's our power as a finance committee is to make those ultimate decisions. So we're the school committee budget is submitted, the select board budget is submitted. We have two budgets. The fact that the select board's budget or what's on here doesn't mention the school budget is just because this was prepared for the select board budget. You could write in the school budget based on what the budget I sent you that was forwarded to us by the school committee. And we're starting with those numbers, and then we will see there's likely a deficit. They will want more money than what we have. And at some point after our public hearings, when we vote on the budget, we will decide who gets what. But as long as whatever our budget is going to equal whatever turns out to be our estimated revenues. Does that make sense? Because I should have clarified that again tonight. I had mentioned that at our last meeting. I forgot that not everybody was here. Jonna?
Thank you. Through you, Carolyn. I just wanted to verify because I just did a quick peek, so maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't think it was correct, but again, I could be wrong. When the money was removed from excess capacity, it was absorbed into the budget like every year forever and not a one-time gift that disappeared. So the budget that we're vetting right now is using TIF money that rolled into excess capacity and right back out this year and every year. Isn't that right?
Jonna, I think I'd like to move on right now. I think that's something that you and I, and perhaps we could talk about afterwards, because I think we're going to get really technical and go on. And I would like to go through some of
All
these
right, so I'll leave
hearings.
my comment for the record then, just leave it at that, unanswered.
You could do that right now, and then we will move on from there. Thank you. And we can discuss it more.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with the Board of Assessors. So
That report should be page number 16 in the packet you got tonight.
there really aren't, no, all of this is online. I had them printed for finance committee members because we have also a backup information, and a lot of us are trying to do multiple things at once. So if you want to share on, and you can also find these online and you'll be able to see. And at some point you will, when a town meeting warrant is made, it'll be in there. If you want to look onto one of those and just leave it, that would be appreciated. Yeah, if you could look, right. We're trying to save trees. Or at least, So if one of you, you could choose that and just leave it at the end, that would be fine. Page again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, page number 16 in your packet. And you want to refer to the packet that you were handed tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start by introducing our assessor. This is Steve Dunn. He is our assessor. He started with us in May. He's doing a fantastic job. And I am going to point out his bottom line is a reduction of budget of 14.75. Should you have any questions for Steve, he's all yours.
Thank you. I guess briefly, could you just explain why the budget was reduced?
It was really because of just staff consolidation.
So perhaps it might help us, especially where as a committee, we have just, you have the first department we're hearing this year. If you could just explain, you have your personnel budget and then your expenses, like
Right.
what it is and how many staff you have and anything that we would need to be aware of.
Well, currently there's myself and 3 staff members. I have an assistant assessor, I have a data lister, and then there's a senior clerk in the office. When I got there, we did have a consultant that would come in once a week, and that's where we're reducing the money. And so the personnel part of the budget goes down. We did slightly go up on our expenses, but overall it's a 14.75 reduction in
Okay.
our budget.
So I'm looking at, just so that people understand, if you look in the FY27 FTEs, we have a department head, which I am presuming is you.
Correct.
And then we have one of those, and we have one assistant assessor,
Yes.
and then appointed officials is 0. Then we have the 2 staff assessor steady collectors. That line item is gone because we don't have that.
Correct.
And then we come into, we have a senior clerk where there's a 1 next to it.
Yes.
And then we had an interim department head, which we don't have, so that line is blank. And then we have the data collector, and we have that 1.0, and those are, so we have 4 people in there, and that's what you see at the bottom line.
Correct.
Thank you. I'm going to open up any questions to the committee. Becca?
Hi, you had mentioned that expenses had gone up. What sort of expenses do you guys incur?
Kind of expenses did we incur? Yeah,
Land Register Service Bureau looks like.
right.
it's a big
I mean,
one.
I've got, we spend money on.
I'm looking at travel expenses, I'm sorry.
Oh, travel expenses. The one thing that's happened there is any of our associations that we go to, unfortunately, those locations are charging more money. It's a post-COVID kind of conundrum that we run into that. So that's generally why that particular line has gone up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Okay, I'm going to open it up to members of the public. If anyone wants to make a comment or have any questions on the Board of Assessors budget, please come up and identify yourselves. Do not feel like you have to, but you are all welcome. Do you have a question? Come on right up. Use a mic.
The MAPS expenses seem to be eliminated.
Excuse me, could you identify yourself?
My
for the
name is
record?
Natasha.
Could you say your name and address, your full name and address?
Oh.
This is a public hearing.
Yes,
part, so-
absolutely. I can definitely follow instruction if you give me a chance to speak. So my name is Natasha Gomes, 48 Sumner. I noticed that the maps and charts expenses is completely gone. I don't know what the current or past usage was for, but why would that be eliminated in its entirety?
I might have to pass this one off to Biz because I wasn't here for fiscal 25, for 25. I don't, for 26, they're not in there at all for 26, and we didn't include them in 27.
I got it.
Okay.
So on maps and charts, these were done in the past, working with the assessing office. Last time we spent out of that budget was in 2025. 2026, it's not there. 2027, it's not there because we have a GIS professional who deals with the maps, and that person works out of the engineering department. So there's no cost to the assessor's office for this type of information.
Thank you. Did that answer the question? Thank you. Awesome. All right. Any other people, anyone else have any questions, comments about the Board of Assessors budget? Thank you. Not seeing any, we'll move on. Thank you. Our next then we will talk about the treasurer's budget, and then we will talk about articles 14, 15, and 16, which are basically articles coming from the treasurer's office. And welcome, and if you could just introduce yourselves so that we,
Hi, I'm Paula Newton. I'm the treasurer collector for the town of Stoughton.
I'm
And
sorry,
I-
page 17.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's on page 17. Thank you, Biz.
So Paula is page 17.
Yeah, so my overall budget increased by 1.92%. It's a modest increase. We had up to 2.5, but
So
that's
there,
what it came to.
right, so your department is basically, your staffing has changed, stayed the same. There were
Correct.
adjustments for salaries, and then it looks like your expenses pretty much have stayed, right, went up by $150 or so.
Paula's FTEs remain the same at 6 for her department.
Okay, anyone from the members of the committee have any questions about the treasurer's budget? Becca?
Hi,
Hi.
nice to meet you in person.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you also.
The Medicaid billing service, I know we're talking about VNA and all of that on Monday for town meeting, but does the Medicaid billing, if this is okay to ask, how does the changes that hopefully go through on Monday would affect this, or would it affect this?
Just to be clear, this Medicaid billing has to do with the school department. It's not with the town because we get reimbursed from the school for certain items of Medicaid.
Okay, never mind then. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the committee have questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to anyone from the audience. Anyone have a question or comment about the treasurer's department for FY27? All right, not hearing any. Thank you. We are going to now move on to the Articles 14, 15, and 16 that have been, are on the annual town meeting warrant. Excuse me. So if you could find those will be, they will not be in this handout.
Oh, yeah.
It's not in the handout that you were given tonight. It's actually in the town meeting warrants that you would have gotten a week or so ago.
And you all have town meeting warrants because I know I sent them to all of you. So if we could start with Article 14, if you could explain what this is.
Sure, absolutely. So Article 14 is Mass General Law 59, Section 57A. It is to allow the town to not bill any taxpayers that have a bill that would be less than $100 for the first and second quarter. So by doing that, we will save approximately $850. There's approximately 890 bills that go out first and second quarter for $50. And instead of doing $50, we're going to do $100. So it would be the third and fourth quarter that you would get your total bill. And it's anyone from $100 or less.
So what you're asking is instead of billing $100 at 4 increments of $25, we're going to do it at 2 increments of 50.
Correct.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Joel?
I always get confused by this. If this is MGL Chapter 59, Section 57A, why do we have to vote to accept it? Is it?
Most of what you see here, the MGL, it's the Mass General Law, but they require, it's a local option. They require legislative body to vote and accept these.
So the law set up as an option for the local community then?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the audience? Not hearing any, we'll move on to Article 15, which is accept MGL Chapter 40, Section 57 delinquency requirement changes.
Correct. So at this present time, when a person goes out to get a license, a business and/or taxpayer, at this time, I cannot report to that department that they have delinquency as of today. I have to go back 12 months and say, hey, 12 months ago, they owed us money. But this time, I can't report it. With this change, I have the right to say, they owe us money as of today, and we need to collect it. And the reason why that's so important is we have a lot of businesses that come into town, and they'll stay in for a year, and they'll leave. And then we aren't able to collect those taxes. So if I was able to say, hey, you know what, they owe us taxes right now, I could collect it. Otherwise, you're not getting your license.
So the current situation is you can only report back 12 months. So like if they didn't owe us money last January, they have to get their permit. Now what you want to do is say if they owe us money, it didn't matter if you didn't owe us last January, but you owe us now,
Correct,
pay up.
correct. And again, it's a local option.
It is a local option, which is why we have to vote on it at town meeting.
Right.
Any questions from members of the committee? Joel?
Is this going to require any additional work on your part or just?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, not at all.
Any questions from members of the audience or any other members of the committee? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. I'm in favor of this. Years ago, there were people that really knew how to work the system. They owed the town tens of thousands of dollars, and they would still continue operating their businesses with particularly selling alcohol. That was a biggie. So anything we can do to refine this for the tricksters, the scammers, and the people that can work their way around and rip off, because they're not ripping off the town of Stoughton. They're ripping off the taxpayers of Stoughton, because we have to make up the difference that they're not paying after they've made money off the people of Stoughton, which is unfair.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Not hearing any, we're going to move on to the next article, which is Article 16, which is to accept MGL Chapter 44, Section 54B involving trust funds and trust fund investments.
So this is to allow me as the treasurer to invest under the prudent investment rule. And it will give us a greater investment diversification than what is allowed with the Massachusetts legal lists. It also allows our investing company, which is Bartholomew, to do the same. If we vote on this and it is accepted, then I can go to our investment company and say, we've accepted this, and please go ahead and find better options for us for the town. And that is mainly for the, where are they? I'm sorry. Stabilizations, our perpetual care, anything that we're investing monies in. But if the donor tells us that we cannot invest this way, then we have to stay with what we're doing. But by accepting this, again, it's just going to allow us to have a better diversification.
Excuse me. We have certain trust funds,
Yes, we do.
like our stabilization funds are considered trust funds.
Correct.
Um,
Exactly.
All right, so could you explain for those of us that don't necessarily remember what is the prudent investor rule and what is the current investing process? What does that mean?
So the prudent investment rule is so that we have a better legal list. The legal list right now, that's where we're at. The prudent investment rule would be so that we could accept this.
No. Okay, so like right now, if we want to invest if we want to take our stabilization amount and invest it in something, we can only do it in certain legal things.
That
and
is
that's it.
correct, a
What's ever
legal
on that
list.
list, and that's it.
That is correct.
And this would change that, the practice if we adopt it to allow a prudent investor, which is not going to mean someone speculating, but a very cautious investor like a fiduciary
Correct.
to make investments. So you might have a larger option, but not like you're not going down, not going to go put it on,
Right.
big offer, something.
We're not taking more risks.
Right. But
Exactly,
it's
no.
like it gives you a bit more of a range.
Correct.
What? No Bitcoin.
Correct. And our investor, Bartholomew, is,
Right.
they're like a $1.6 billion company. So they know what they're doing. Most of the communities in Massachusetts are with Bartholomew, only because they are so awesome.
And municipal communities, they have their own, issues, concerns with investments. It's this unique kind of market.
Yes.
Do a lot of the communities have used the prudent investor rule?
Most of the communities are just getting involved in it.
So this is something
the same
that's
thing.
kind
That
of
is
new
correct.
that we're starting with.
That is
Okay.
correct. It's probably about, I want to say a year old now, maybe a year and a half.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Joel? No, that's all right.
I think I understand what you're saying, but if I understand it correctly, does that mean that the risk associated with the investment, even though it may be small, is larger than what you're doing now?
No, it doesn't mean that.
Why not?
Only because Bartholomew is not going to take the risk. They're going to look into each and every investment that they're going to get into.
You're basically trusting this company to make,
Oh, 100%. 100%.
okay.
I'm sorry if you don't feel as confident as I do, but I am 100% confident in, yeah, it is less risk.
I
I'm sorry.
I trust your judgment, but it sounds like that there is a small element of risk involved.
If I may assist, Paul,
Absolutely.
every time you do an investment, be it your 401k, your anything, there's always a risk involved. But this is going to give us a more prudent investment policy where we work hand in hand to get the best interest with the minimal amount of risk.
Will this show up on the revenue sheets as increased revenue somewhere?
Yes, it's under interest income
Okay.
on the different stabilization funds. I think some of them right now, we're making what, 0.5% on some of the accounts. We make minimal interest. So we're trying to get our interest up higher, especially with the size of our stabilization funds.
Exactly.
But no Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sure Bartholomew would not do that. You're welcome.
I think it's, just to clarify, I think we trust that you then Bartholomew in that. I think it's just, at least in my view, it's hard to quantify what is the difference. So because I think perhaps we don't know what's on the legal list. So perhaps it's, if you could just set whatever options and you're looking for some more, it could be similar types of options, but just more that aren't on that piece of paper.
Correct, because that's what we have to abide by is the legal list at this time.
Thank you. Dawn?
Quick question for you, madam. Is there a maximum or a minimum we're looking to invest, or if we were to go through this?
No, nothing would change.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions on Article 16? All right, members of the, are there any members of the audience that have any questions or comments on this article? Oh, Jonna?
Through you, Carolyn, I'm just curious, what would you say the difference would be? I mean, speculating, I understand, but just curious for some guesstimate. Thank
Just
you.
a larger list that they're going to be able to invest in. I don't know what that number is at this time. I didn't get involved with that with Bartholomew. As I said, most of I should say, an amount of communities, I'm going to say maybe 25% have already adopted this.
It might help, I guess, those of us that I like visuals. If you could send us a copy of the actual legal list. So we can see what we're talking about. And then if there's one or two examples of what might be a prudent investment that isn't on the legal list, I think then then we know kind of what you're relating. We trust, but I think,
Yeah.
we say people think investment, and if it's not on the list, it's not on that legal list. What's prudent to you may not be, may be different than what's prudent to me or what's prudent to Joel. So I think just getting some idea like what we're talking about.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on Article 16? Okay, thank you. And wait a second, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, I just actually wanted a question about going back to the budget item. Is that possible
What on the,
on the treasurer's budget?
yeah, if it's quick, yeah.
It is quick. I just saw on some of the salaries, the increase was, higher than kind of the standard, like 2.5. And I just, the question is that like a market correction? And if so, does that bring us back like up to a normal amount, or is there some other reason for the kind of the higher than the average raises?
I have it, Madam Chair. If you look at footnote number 1, it reflects an additional 2.5% because we are very, very proud to announce that Elsa Moriarty in the Treasurer Collector's Office is now a certified collector. So it's an additional funding for that position. And it takes multiple years to get that certification. So we're very proud of
Tell her
Elsa's
congratulations.
Absolutely.
Does that answer?
It does, thank you.
All right. Not seeing any other questions. Thank you. Paula, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We are going to now go back up to our budgets we will, look at
Finance Committee's
Finance
page
Committee
12.
budget.
Page 12.
All right. So this is our budget.
Yes. And just a little bit of education on Finance Committee budgets. The only thing you expend on is temporary wages, advertising, things like that. What does happen is when we request funding from the Finance Committee budget, we're doing a budgetary transfer from your budget to the department requesting funding. So although it says we only spent 16,000, we could have had a budgetary transfer of 50,000 for something during the year. So it might look a little odd, but that's the way Finance Committee budgets work. We
Right.
transfer items.
So
around.
that we have, our temporary wages is our recording secretary who puts our minutes together. And then we have our advertising and freight, which is our basically
The advertisement, et cetera, is for the
our
publications.
publications of the hearings.
Exactly, and anything
Sorry,
we
it's
need to print.
been a
That's
while.
fine. We all have mind cramps once in a while.
And then we have printing, which is our printing the warrants. And if we keep having special town meetings, that's number's going to go up. So hopefully, to the select board, keep that in mind next year. And as we will see here, like the biggest expense here, we have some money for education. So money if there was a seminar or something that we wanted to go to as finance committee and to pay the finance association dues come under this. If anyone thinks there's anything that you would want to add to that part of the budget, that's something that we can bring up at our motions when we vote on the budget. So to be honest, I don't think this is really a good idea, but let's say we wanted to have a conference. We all saw that there was going to be a great finance committee conference in Florida next February. And we wanted to, like, hey, like, let's put in a $50,000 thing, we would have to put that in our budget in order to pay for that conference. Now, we are not going to do that. So anybody watching on TV, there's no proposal whatever for the finance committee to go to Florida for any reason.
Well, one thing to mention, Carolyn, when you do that, if you want to add money in your budget, you got to think about where you're going to take it
Right.
away from.
Generally, when we add money on anything that we're going to have to figure out where it comes from in order to figure out how it's going to balance and everything else. But that will be further along. And our big thing is the reserve money. We hold that, like, we are likely at some point this spring to have a request for reserve to go to because of snow and ice. Right. So we will transfer that money. We voted one earlier in the fall on to the 300 committee. Those are usually for unforeseen expenses. All right. So those are like, if something happened, let's say, fell on the roof of a building, we had to get the tree off, we need to have money that's going to come before us. That's not something foreseen. We would pay for that out of the reserve. All right. If we don't expend it, it goes back into the general fund for next year.
Right, and I would like to inform the committee through you, Madam Chair, that we will be requesting funding for the special election that we just had, special primary election, and also for the special town meeting. Once I have those final figures, we'll be putting that request into the Finance Committee. And
Thank
just
you.
as a note of interest, our snow and ice budget, as we know, will be over, but we do have a funding mechanism to take it at town meeting versus coming to the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
I just want to make you aware. Thank you.
Sure. Joel?
These are fairly quick. Because you have a line item in here called Reserve Fund Fuel, which I don't think I've ever seen before.
Past history with the Finance Committee, prior to my getting here, when fuel increased, in 2022, I think it was, the Finance Committee had a reserve for fuel
Oh,
for
yeah.
increases.
Okay, all right,
And
yeah.
so what we did is we eliminated it because personally, I don't think the Finance Committee reserve should be restricted to any particular line item. So we combine those to make it more flexible for the committee.
Okay, great. Thank you. I do remember now when that happened. Okay. And the second question, maybe Mark can answer because I don't think this is in your area. And that is, we've got 2,500 for consulting legal. In the past, members of this Finance Committee, none of you were on it when this happened, by the way, came to the conclusion that we had the ability to use town council independently. In other words, we could call up town council, or she could call up town council and ask a question. And is that still okay, or is that what we're talking about here? Because town council now is different, isn't it? They get a flat fee every month?
General questions, like, there's credit to Carolyn. There's been a lot of emails and questions to town council this week through various emails. All that's included in our normal fee.
Yeah.
If it's a special type of project, special type of service, that would be an additional fee. We'd have to look at their contract versus what the project is.
All right, so the $2,500 is in case we ask a really odd question?
It's something that takes a little more than a few minutes of research.
Okay, but she has the authority to contact town council.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I have.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So it's the chair. So if you have a question, ask your chair. She can reach out to
Right.
the.
That does not, yes. If you have anything you think that there's a question that you would like a question on a legal opinion on, you can ask me and I will say whether or not I think we need to get that.
Great.
Arnie?
I'd like to just get a clarification on the reserve fund.
Mhm.
What are we responsible for funding on that? Anything specific? Are we just the piggy bank for like for instance, if we go over snow plowing expenses, is that just a piggy bank account that everyone comes
Well,
to us for?
I think it's more like, I probably shouldn't have used the snow funds because I forgot that we have the snow and ice account is the only account that you can run a deficit in because they can recoup it through state and that mechanism. Like something that's unforeseen. It is sort of like we are the emergency piggy bank source, all right? The, contingency fund. And we hold the money, and if something happens, it's designed to be something unforeseen, all right? Not something that we could have, so like, it wasn't really projected that we were going to have a primary election, right? Because we haven't had one in years. So that's unforeseen, which is why we will be getting a request for it. That wasn't put into the budget. When they budgeted for the elections last year, they budgeted for, the town election in April and the primaries and whatever happened over this past year. All right. They didn't, but so those were budgeted. That's it. So there's more money because every election we have to pay the people that run it, the poll workers and everything else. So the ballots, everything else. So that wasn't budgeted. So that's unforeseen. That's going to come to us, and that would be appropriate.
So they can't request something like a second flagpole for town hall.
No,
Okay.
if that first flagpole for town hall happened to break and fall on town hall, and now they need to like remove it and fix, part of the building, yes, they would be coming to us for that. Like if they needed emergency cash for that to get it fixed or whatever, that would be something they would come that you're not going to foresee.
So it can't be used for wants. It only
No.
has to be used for emergencies.
It's so like things that are unforeseen. I mean, all right, because so like for example, for the elections, we all know there's going to be an election in November this year. If that wasn't budgeted in the clerk's budget, we would be very unhappy if they came to us looking for reserve on that. That's not unforeseen.
And if I may, Madam Chair, in the past, before my getting here, every department would come to the Finance Committee for their own requests and just went and ignored the Finance Department. Now all departments for extraordinary and unforeseen have to come to Finance. And if we find another funding source that they can use, it does not come to the Finance Committee. And the commitment that we've made is to not use the Finance Committee reserve. That would only be under extenuating circumstances, and all backup will need to be provided. And once again, the committee has the right to not approve that transfer. But we also have other mechanisms which come into year end. So we can do year end transfers between May 15th and July 15th to cover deficits. So our job is to not come after that reserve unless we have something very specific,
And
like the primary.
Right, and I am glad to, see that those guardrails have been put into place, because I do recall in the past, you'd be, a department would decide, oh, I overran my budget, I got to go to the Finance Committee for a transfer, and that's not what we want to happen. We want to really be unforeseen. Dawn?
Sorry. On this budget, if it's not used, does it build up or just, okay?
It will go back into the general fund, and, Any other questions on our Finance Committee budget? All right, anyone from, Cynthia? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask for the public.
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. On advertising and freight, do we know if the Ledger is the same price as the Suburban Shopper, or is it more or less?
I suspect it's less. I really have prices somewhere because I get bills, which I then forward immediately to someone who can actually pay them.
Yep, We do have contracts with those, and the best person to ask for that would be procurement officer, which is Fran Bruttini, and we'll be more than happy to get that information for you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And a comment, the number of people that get the Patriot Ledger in Stoughton I would hazard guess is less than 1,000 out of 30,000 people. I know that it's cheaper than the enterprise, which I know an awful lot of people also don't get. The suburban shopper is free to the residents. And I'd ask the committee to consider, even though you have to legally post it in a newspaper, that you also put it into the suburban shopper for people like me that are not going to subscribe to the Ledger, because 3 or 4 times a year, there are
Right.
notices I'm interested in.
To be honest, I try to get them all into the suburban shopper because that's what I see as well. We put them into the Ledger because that's what bond council wants. Bond council does not consider suburban shopper a newspaper of general circulation. With this week, because of the snow and everything, publications for the suburban shopper were delayed. So I don't know if no one's gotten mail. So that's probably part of the reason why people may not have fully gotten notice for this one. But I did request an ad and sent it in. I don't think it got in because by the time, because of the storm. All right, any other questions? Come on up.
Natasha Gomes, 48 Sumner. I have a question. I saw that you made those notes at the bottom of other budgets, but on the bottom of this one, there's no notation as to the 2025 actual pass-through amount that would have existed with regards to the reserve fund usage.
The reserve fund doesn't pass through, I guess. So, and if we don't use it, it gets rolled back.
So none of it was used in 2025 for any other budgetary items to be paid?
No, if we don't spend it, it goes right back at the end of the year. Into
Well,
the
what she
general
said
fund.
was that when you have the expense, the money moves to that respective.
Right, and if we don't
budget.
expend it,
Okay, so nothing was spent. That's the answer to my question.
well, it looks like here there was no, it says reserve fund was blank, so I don't know if we spent any. Thank you.
So what happens with the reserve fund? You have expenses, which are listed here, that's an actual expense. But when we're transferring a budget, it does not show up as an actual expense.
Yeah.
It's just a budgetary transfer from one area to another area, that's all it is.
Thank you. All right, next item. Whoops. Go right ahead. Sorry, Heidi.
Sorry, I had to leave for a second. I'm just curious about this awards and presentation. Are we supposed to get like medals or anything because we're here? Like, what is that? And what am I missing? Am I not getting a trophy?
Oh, okay.
What is it?
It
just seems odd.
I will say, I guess in the past, they used to give awards to, I don't know.
If people are retiring and you want to give a special presentation or plaque for the years of service, that is what that would be. Historically, I do not believe the finance committee has done that, but this is also something that you don't want to just eliminate because you haven't done it, because sometime in the past you did do it. So you just want to be aware of that. So
Remember in the past, there were times where like people, when their 9 years were up, they would give them something at town meeting saying, congratulations, you did 9 years on the FinCom. And
That
if
was
we
through
gave them something, it would have come like through something like that. That's what I'm guessing.
So are we no longer doing that?
actually, I misspoke. It has been taken out of your budget. So awards and presentations are out of your budget. It's no longer there.
Is it placed somewhere else?
Well, when we balance our budgets, it could go any place. It could be going to the, could be going towards debt. It could be going towards the, it could be going towards health insurances. It could be going to any other department that needs it. And that's what we do. When a department no longer needs funding, it gets eliminated and it allows for funding for other
It
departments.
looks like we have $500 in our current budget for that. but
Okay.
it's not being proposed for FY '27. If someone thinks we need to add that $500 in there, we can discuss that when we discuss our budget.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
What it looks like is it went into in-service training and education because there's a $500 increase.
Well, I guess that's money if we want to have, send someone to a training. If we don't, again, anything we don't spend just goes back into the budget. Lisa?
Lisa Lyons, just following up on Natasha's comment on the flow through. So I think it would be helpful if there was a notation down there where the money was spent last year, where it was moved from one
So,
department.
You mean any, like a listing of any transfers that the finance committee made out of the reserve?
Yes, yes. So didn't we have like snow and ice? Oh, no,
I-
that was separate.
I
Sorry.
would recommend that the finance committee keep their own list of what's being transferred. I send it to you every time there's a transfer, and you can share that with who you like. Last year, we had snow and ice deficit of $71,000. That did not go through finance committee. That either went through year-end transfers or actually, I think it was a free cash allocation. So that's how we do things. But every time we do a request, that request is
Right.
sent to finance committee. So there is an Excel spreadsheet that verifies that.
So if I
That's
will
just
see
a
about
suggestion
adding
as a
some more down
reminder
if
for the
there's any.
people that come in and out of FinCom and for people watching. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on our finance committee budget? I am not seeing any, so. Our next budget is, I lost my budget list. Town accountant.
Okay, the town accountant budget, we do have a significant increase in the department head with the finance director position. And this is bringing that salary up to market value. And the contract we have with our current finance, our secondary finance director, who after the end of March will be taking my position. Her contract is for $185,000 for the first 6 months. So through December, and as of December 31st, beginning January 1st, her salary will be $190,000. And then we have an assistant finance director position. That position is being ironed out for the future. And what we did when we originally sent you the budgets, we had 162 under the finance director's salary, which would have been mine. And to be honest, I know that I have been severely underpaid, but I made a commitment and I stuck to that commitment. With the assistant finance director, we had 110,000. That was the recommended budget. But with the new contract that came in, we reduced the assistant finance director position and transferred that money up to the regular department head position. Now, with the assistant finance director position, there's still restructuring going on in the office. So that will be addressed as we move forward through the end of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. And then after that, those are our biggest increases there. The program administrator one, that is based on CBA. So there's really nothing we can do about that. We have increased our education and training budget because the town is investing in its staff to become certified and to be able to be updated on laws, rules, and regulations that we have to follow. The next part, that covers the salary. So that's where our biggest increase in that department. Also, we have the annual audit fee. What has been missing in the past, and on the footnote, you will see footnote number 2, annual audit fee is to include independent auditor and actuarial fees. So that's the OPEB. The OPEB has not been budgeted before, as far as I could tell, so we have to put it in there. And then number 3 footnote is continued education and training for staff. There are 5 conferences that are attended each year by the finance office staff. And if people from my office can't go, or Heidi's office in the future, we reach out to the treasurer collector's office to get them better educated and trained in overall financial management for municipalities. And the increase in office supplies, that is for the changes in staffing. So that pretty much sums up that budget. And the certification school, that's very important. And we'll be sending 3 people to certification this year. 3 to certification, we have a November meeting, and this is the MMAAA, Massachusetts Municipal Auditors and Accountants Association. And then we also belong to the Plymouth, Norfolk, Bristol Auditors and Accountants Association. And we will be discussing whether or not Ms. Chuckrin would like to be a member of the MGFOA, MFGOA, I can never get that right. So whether or not she's certified to go to the MFGOA right now, I'm not sure, but that'd be an additional cost, and we'll address that.
What is the MFOGA?
Massachusetts Government Financial Officers Association. And the straight GFOA, which is nationwide, is Government Financial Officers Association. So all these little acronyms. So that's what we have. Any questions?
So-
Anyone happy?
I'm just quickly, so it looks like there's an increase in staff from 4.54 to 5,
Yes, it's a half a person increase
Mhm.
overall.
or 0.46 of a person.
Yeah. Yes. So we are increasing a little bit. That's our projection.
And you're in the
moving forward.
process of restructuring what those positions are going to be right now, is my
Exactly.
understanding.
And
Okay.
our job is to make sure that the town has the proper support for certain things that the finance director will need to do. The assistant finance director would be, like I said, that's being ironed out, and we'll have that ironed out before July 1st. And why it's so low as well is we probably wouldn't hire somebody or fulfill this position probably until the September timeframe. We delay hirings like this so we can have a better understanding of what we need moving forward.
And so that means next year's budget, it won't need to be the full salary amount.
Right, for
Because we are-
27, it will not be the full salary. And as we progress forward into 27, then we reevaluate and restructure as we need.
Sure. And the consultant fees?
Consultant fees, if I'm leaving, so if we weren't proactive and hired somebody right away for a cross-training, which is extremely important, you would be paying a consultant. So that's why you always keep consultant fees in your budgets, because you never know.
Just in case we need it.
Extraordinary and unforeseen. And I don't think the finance committee wants us to come over and get any money from them. So that's why we have that in there. And there are moments where we have to reach out for a special issue. Okay, we need to have rates assessed, water, sewer, trash rates, and that will help with the consulting.
That's, I was just curious.
Okay, no problem.
Questions from members of the committee? Joel?
All right, I understand the assistant finance director. I was a little confused here why it went down like that. So I understand that. So you're going to have a total of 5 FTEs at the end, by the end of the fiscal year, is what you're saying.
That's the anticipation. So we'll be adding on technically a half a person based on how the FTEs work.
Okay, so, and the assistant finance director is a new position that you're going to advertise for?
Yes, everything we need to do to keep in compliance with the town requirements will happen. And, that's a operational management decision that will be addressed as soon as we can, once Heidi finishes getting her feet wet and we move forward into 27.
Is the assistant town accountant somebody?
Yes, the assistant town accountant in my position, she has been running the day-to-day operations.
Is this
because-
Anne Marie by any chance?
Yeah, it's Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, on the consultant fees, which you referenced a little earlier, I know you have a consultant that works on telling you what the best bond strategy is. Is that the kind of consultant we're talking about?
No, that's Hilltop Advisors, who they are our financial advisors. We do pay them, but they get paid via our borrowings. So they don't get paid a consulting fee to give us the advice we need as part of the borrowing is how they get paid.
Run that by me again?
I'll run it by you again, sure. So when we do borrowing, we get a bond premium.
Right,
So with that bond premium, which they're paying us to give us a loan,
right.
out of that bond premium, we pay all of our costs based on that borrowing, which will include Hilltop. It includes bond counsel.
Oh,
It
okay.
includes all those type of fees where it comes to borrowing. We do not pay Hilltop direct from this type of line. They come from borrowing projects.
So the cost of that consulting work is kind of embedded in the bond cost.
Exactly.
All right, I got it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the audience? Thank you. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is retirement of debt.
Retirement of debt is Department 710. I'm just trying to find the page numbers for you. Retirement of debt is page 67. Give me 1 second, I have to find my page as well.
Thank you. Everyone find it?
So retirement of debt is based on what we actually have to spend during the fiscal year for fiscal '27. In the past, if we notice, we had over allocated the retirement of debt in 2024, I believe, by over $1 million. So what we do and what we should do is not project our own debt. We go to our advisors. Those advisors will let us know how much debt do we have in the upcoming fiscal year. We trace on our own side what we think our debt might be, but the advisors are the ones that we use for our figures when we get to budgeting. So we don't have that same issue, because that issue translated to the water, sewer, any enterprise fund that had debt, and to the general fund. So we've kind of changed that mode a little bit so we're more exact. So pretty much one of the questions that had come up had to do with long-term debt, not long-term debt, excludes debt. At midway down the report, you'll see town long-term principal excluded, and that is what we're currently paying for the fire department building, and long-term excluded interest, and that also is in association with the fire department. Now in 2028, those figures will be going up. The school long-term principal and school long-term interest excluded. That's where we see our most dramatic change. In 2026, we had 2.9 million for principal excluded, and then we have 3.396 million in 2027. And that is only in association with the high school. And then the long-term interest, that has a significant increase of I really can't say. I'm going to say like $1.3, $1.4 million. And that interest is associated with the $25 million bond that we took for the beginning of the school project.
Beginning of the Elementary school project.
The elementary school, correct. And I do want to reiterate that the elementary school is 20 years, 4%. Okay, I know that there was a question as to whether or not it was 25 years, but it's not, it's 20. And when we take out bonds, what happens is we have other bonds that have a 30-year life, and we borrow for 30 years. And then we have some that are 5 years, 10 years. So when you're looking at the overall bond, our most recent bonding with the 25 million is, we borrowed 28 million. Out of that 28 million, 25 belongs to the school at 20 years, and then the variance falls into different year associations as to a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25-year note. So every note is a little bit different, okay? So that covers the excluded debt. If I may, does anybody have a question on the excluded before we move on to the other parts?
Members of the committee?
Okay. So then we're going to go back to the top where there's borrowing expenses. Borrowing expenses we do run into where the premium does not cover all the borrowing expenses, or we're taking a temporary borrowing. So we do have to take those expenses into account. That's why we always budget for borrowing expenses. Town debt principal is 1.469. Town debt interest is 814. Now, earlier I mentioned we have $139 million worth of authorized unissued. We will be borrowing, I believe it's going to be another $5 million by the end of this year. We're either going to ban it or bond it, and that cost will start coming up in 2028. And that's for authorizations we did in prior years, that we try not to borrow money until we know we're going to use it, okay? So then we've got school debt principal and school debt interest. Anytime we put something on the warrant for the school that we're borrowing for, we have to segregate how much debt is school, how much debt is town. And that has gone down, not a lot, but it did go down. The principal went down about 60,000, and the interest went up about 11,000. So it's all on how the bonds are structured. It's not like your car payment or your mortgage. They fluctuate.
It's not the same payment every month.
No, it's not the same payment every month. So it does fluctuate, or every year it fluctuates depending. And you pay interest in municipal bonding, you pay interest twice a year, and you pay principal once a year? Principal once a year. Okay, so that's just one of the things that we have to watch for. And then short-term interest borrowing for school and town. So if we had to do a short-term interest, like a ban, we would take ban costs out of this. Okay, so that's what that's for. And in order to remain prudent, you always need to budget for these types of things, whether or not we use it. If we don't use it, it closes out at the end of the year and it becomes part of our free cash calculation. So that's why some of these things are in here. And last year we had short-term for the town at 96,000 and short-term for the school at 12,000. So that's why we have to have these in here. And, you know, year-end transfers is, if we have a budget adjustment we need to do, we do it at year-end transfer. We don't come to the finance committee for that, other than year-end transfer.
Joel?
Okay, I'll start with the easier one first.
Okay.
This retirement of debt does not include anything for water and sewer, is that correct?
No, water and sewer. Any enterprise fund has to be self-sufficient, so they have to pay their own debt. Their own debt is paid through their rates and their own revenues. And as we go forward, we're going to have more debt going in 2028 for the water and the sewer. We don't have anything going into Cedar Hill, but water and sewer will have additional borrowing coming up for 2028.
Same is true for the CPC, correct?
CPC, they borrow, it's within their own fund. It is not
Use
part
their
of
own
the general
funds
fund.
for that. It doesn't show up here.
No, sir.
And my last question is, the fire station project, are we all bonded out, or?
We are not all bonded out.
Oh, good. Oh.
But we will be. So by the end of this fiscal year, we will be drawing down the balance of the bond, which I believe is $5 million. We're at the point where they're finishing off the project. And I believe there's 5.6 million outstanding on that bond. I've been assured that it's coming in under budget, but I'm not going to draw down that money until I know where we are. So if that project is done, let's say by May, and we only need $4 million, that's all we're drawing down and the account's shut off.
Mark, are they going to go forward with any additional work on the fire station 2, or do you know? That would have to
Yeah.
be bonded for?
Yeah, there was a small amount. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but they have.
Was 300,000,
They had,
is it?
they had it was around 200,000 to 300,000 in that range. They had a meeting on it today, Craig, Nick, and the fire chief and his deputy.
Okay, thank you very much.
So just, I guess, since, so as I understand, when the original fire department project was, there was to build the new one, repurpose Freeman Street into some sort of administrative building, and then go fix once the administrative office is removed out of Fire Station 2, fix it so that you can put another truck in there. And fix the problem so that the original truck that couldn't fit in there will now be able to fit in there. Is that right?
I believe that was part of it. Don't quote me on it, but I believe the other part was living quarters. I believe they mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
So as of right now, Freeman Street's going to be done, and that is almost done as well.
they're essentially operating out of that building right now. So they've computers are working. I just spoke to the deputy chief today. It's pretty functional right now. The nurses are over there. The nurses. So on the second floor where they are located, they're not there anymore. So it's an operation.
Okay. And then the last stuff is fixing up whatever was at Fire Station 2 that needed to be done, which you couldn't do until you got the administrative offices out of there.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the public? Come on up.
Hi, Lisa Lyons again. Still, I should say. So I just have a question with regard to inside debt, the ratio of inside debt to the overall budget, where we are on that. And then how are we going to do that, given that we don't have the whole school budget in here?
Oh. We have a number for the school budget, and it's just not on there, but there will be a budget at town meeting that has everything in it. All right. Basically, what it was is the select board budget, they just didn't put the school line item in there. And we always got a copy of the school budget. It just didn't show up in the select board's budget this year for whatever reason, but it's still there. There's really no change.
Well,
all right?
that's highly unusual, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But it's still, so,
But the budget that is going to go at town meeting, and the budget when we're talking about it is this point, we are, as the finance committee, are treating them both as the same budget. They're one budget.
okay, so for that clarification, it's still, you're going to be talking about policies at some point, and in that policies is the debt ratio. So that's the question I'm asking. On this, we should have like a footnote as to what the inside debt is, and people can see clearly what.
Would you
what
give
is it.
us, I guess what it is, right now, we wouldn't be able to give a projected inside debt because we don't have a budget yet. So, I mean, once we, like, at town meeting, we would be able to do that because we would have a budget, a balanced budget to present, and it will have a figure, and so then we could figure out the debt to ratio that would be projected for next year.
But to your point, this is a recommending body, so you really need that information as a finance committee to make proper recommendations.
We just don't have it at this point since it's our first night of hearings.
I will make this as simple as possible. So you take your total debt, excluded, that's excluded. Then everything else would be inside and not outside. The outside debt has to do with the enterprise funds and not with the general fund. So that's a simple explanation on the inside-outside debt. So outside debt would be debt exclusions, okay? Inside debt is pretty much everything else. And you've got your, what I want to caution this body about as well, when it comes to debt, not just what we have outstanding, but what we know we're going to have coming up. When we do debt, especially with water and sewer, that also has a serious impact on the residents. So we have to take into consideration anything that's coming through taxation and anything that's coming through rates, because they get an additional fee when there's borrowing. So, you know, we may not be at a 10% borrowing right now, but we're within the limits that we feel the town can handle at this point in time, especially with the new elementary school, the fire department coming on, and the debt that we're authorizing shortly in the spring that's going to hit 2028. So we don't just think about today, we think about tomorrow. And it's very important to keep our debt contained so that the residents aren't overtaxed or overrated on their water and sewer.
So the inside debt includes everything that's not, I mean, the excluded debt, right? That's the debt exclusions.
Pretty much everything general fund. That's
Everything in
under,
the enterprise funds are also like excluded, but in a
Right.
different way.
right, they're in our total debt report. So our debt is not just the general fund, our debt is everything.
Right.
Everything that the town has outstanding for debt. So the simplest way to look at it is how I described. Anything that's school and town, that's inside the levy. And that's the purpose, inside the tax levy, outside the tax levy. Excluded is outside, enterprise is outside. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just to my point, if we could have notes for the public for town meeting that says what our ratio is, so that when this body and town meeting or whoever's going to approve select board policies, that we have a basis to go by, a footnote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We will move on now to state assessments and charges.
Page 68, please.
Now, a lot of these come right off the top of our cherry sheet, shall I say, the state says, here's our money, now we're just taking our part right now, so you're not even gonna get it.
That's exactly how it works. It's part of the cherry sheet. And what we need to do is we do need to account for these. And prior, you just had a net figure. You were netting out, this is our income, this is our expense. So you only showed the income being the net figure. But it's important to show what exactly you're spending your money on. And since I got here, we segregated it out. So on page 68, if you look at page 68, it's pretty clear. And the numbers that we have now on House One, that's based on the governor's budget. You know, as I said earlier, some of the estimates were over projected on some lines, under projected on other lines. So the increase on the increase on the assessments is roughly $80,000. And the biggest variances that we have here has to do with the teachers' retirement health insurance. So what happens with the teachers' retirement, MTRS, I think it's called, what happens with them is we have to account for their retiree health insurance in our cherry sheet. And this has been going on for a gazillion years because I think at some point years ago, some communities weren't paying the teachers' retirement. So this is what we have to pay teachers' retirement health insurance. And they take it out of our cherry sheet. So this ends up being part of the year-end reporting for the school department. So we aren't just spending money on their budget, we're also spending money on their benefits, being health insurance, retirement, different things like that. So there's a lot that goes into these budgets. And then we have Chapter 71, Special Ed. That's pretty minor right now, but that's for not people we sent out, but an assessment from the Special Education Board. So teachers' retirement is the biggest, and then we have charter school assessment. So we send people out to charter schools, we have to pay for it. And that comes right off our cherry sheet. And that again gets charged back to the school department. And the easiest way to explain these chargebacks to the school are their indirect costs. So if you look at these as being their indirect costs when they do the year-end reporting, that's part of that. Everything else is pretty minor. School choice, again, people going out on the school choice, we have to pay for that. And transportation, so if we have the BAT bus out here, whatever, the public transportation out here, that's what that's for. So that is state charges and assessments in a nutshell.
Of course, mosquito control.
Oh, we have to have mosquito control. Whether or not we control the mosquitoes, we still have to pay for it. And air pollution, Old Colony Planning Council. So these are just standard. You want to be part of our association, you want us to come out and do stuff for you, we're going to charge you. Okay?
Any questions? Any questions of the public? We'll move on.
Madam Chair, before we move on, just like the revenues, these are subject to change when we get the final cherry sheet data.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you. All right, next, townwide insurance.
Townwide insurance, that has to do with our liability insurance, our automobile insurance. This is not
Not our
any
health insurance.
employee benefits.
Page
think.
70.
Page 70, yep, sorry. Let me just make sure I'm speaking appropriately. Yes, so here we have our comprehensive insurance. We were instructed by our insurance company back in October to increase everything by a minimum of 10%, which we did. So the budget from last year to this year, it actually went down by 2,336. And the reason that it went down is we moved the workers' compensation because we have a workers' compensation trust fund. So with that, it never should have been here. It's a transfer, and you'll see that when we get to the transfer section of the budgets. We need to transfer that every year to the workers' comp trust fund. So that was taken out. So that's why you see a huge reduction, bring us a reduction of 18.9%, but it didn't go away. It's just in another location. So that's pretty much the insurance in a nutshell.
But this is our liability insurance for the most part.
It's liability insurance, and we have pre-screenings that we have to do. We have bonds that we have to do. We have a deductible for uninsured losses, et cetera. So we have that in there. And there's just different insurances that we
It's not
cover.
like our like professional liability insurance or anything like that.
Yes, it includes all of that.
That-
Auto, professional liability, anything to run the town. What it does not include is employee benefits such as health insurance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions on townwide insurance? Any questions from members of the public on townwide insurance? Don't all jump at once. Oh, we got one. All right. Thank you, Joel.
My apologies, I had to leave for a minute. You might have covered it while I was out, but what's the police insurance? That's something new.
Actually, that's been there for years. It's a supplemental
I've
insurance.
never
program.
noticed it before. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's a supplemental insurance program for police departments. This is standard in every community so that if an officer gets injured on duty, et cetera, it covers that type of stuff. Our liability insurance covers the other issues that may come up.
I got it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right, let's move on to retirement contributions.
Okay, we are part of the Norfolk County Retirement System, and this is our retirement contribution that we have to pay each
This is
year.
page 71.
Oh, I'm sorry, page 71. Is everybody else set on that? So with the retirement contributions, it's not just the town employees who retire, but it's non-teachers who retire. Teachers' retirement is separate from non-teacher retirement. So if we have paralegals that aren't part of the school MTRS program, or if we have cafeteria workers, custodians, things like that, that is also included in here. And then you have all the town employees.
Yeah, for the schools, it's anyone that does not need an educational license. So
Correct.
paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers, custodians, secretaries, administrative assistants, they pay into the Norfolk County retirement through the
Right.
town. So that's included in here. The teachers, the administrators, anyone that needs a license, they pay directly into the Mass Teachers Retirement Fund. It comes right out of the town pays nothing. It comes right out of their paychecks.
Correct. And the more people that retire, the more that it goes up. So this is something that we don't have any control over. And we did receive notice back in October what our retirement would be for fiscal '27. So this is a true and accurate representation of the value.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Okay.
All right. It looks like that takes care of our budget. Oh, go right ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. Is, are we up to date on retirement?
Do you want to know if we've
I mean, are
committed
we-
all the funding for our OPEB liability of $140 million now? So,
sorry I brought it up.
me too.
That's a different budget area.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's in another article, right?
We address it, and you have till, I think it might be 2045 right now to get it paid in full. But every year they extend it because they know it's a physical impossibility for any community to pay the 100% OPEB. So that's why we're chopping away at OPEB right now, and we're putting more money into that account so we can transfer it out to retirement. But right now, 500,000 isn't going to do us much. So we're keeping interest, we're gaining interest on that, and then as we go forward, we can address it.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. Teachers have to give advance notice of retirement. Is that true for all town employees, or can they retire in a month?
It all depends on their contract. For instance, my contract, I had to give a 3-month notice. I gave a 4-month notice. Others, you have to retire, you have to give a 6-month notice. So it all depends on the contract. And the reason you have to give additional retirement that you intend to retire is so that your retirement buyouts can be budgeted for. Retirement buyouts, which were required by law, unused vacation time, or depending on your contract, it'd be unused sick time. Typically, unused sick time is paid 1/4 of what you actually accrue. That's law. So we do request it ahead of time, but there are times when you have people who retire who don't know they're going to retire, and then you have to address it. But that doesn't come from this retirement contribution. That comes out of the salary lines in each department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Members, anyone else? All right. Now we are moving on to Article 10, reauthorization of revolving funds.
All right, I'll take this one. This is pretty much a standard article, as you know, every year. It's one of those cookie cutter articles. The only change to this article is the spending limit for the recreation revolving account. There's 9 revolving accounts. It doesn't add money to their budget or anything like that. It just allows them to spend more money out of their revolving account. Essentially, speaking the math today, the reason for that is just so they can offer more programming. They're actually limited by their programming right now with the number that's in the revolving account.
So that people understand, we don't budget money in that goes, our budgeted money does not go into these revolving accounts. That's the fees that they charge for programming. They have to there has to be authorization for them to be allowed to hold that money. And there are limits that they can hold and looks like we want to increase the recreation limit up to $400,000.
Right.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the audience, comments? Nope. All right. Next article is Article 13, the sunset clause.
So the sunset clause this year, we're not going to be closing anything out other than what you will find in the special town meeting warrant where we're reallocating funds. We have, if I may, Mark, I didn't bring a copy of the town meeting warrant. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects that we're going to request an extension on those projects, and they will be defined as Park Street. This is an article that goes back to 2020. So anything that we had in play before the sunset clause was voted, we can still extend that. So we're going to extend that to 2027. The sewer I&I, which we are working on the I&I, we're going to extend that to 28. The sewer pump station upgrades, we're requesting to extend that to 2028. And again, that was a May 22 article. FY23 article was water main upgrades. Again, this was voted in 2023. We're extending that to 2028. And this is also borrowing articles. So when we have borrowing articles, we want to make those exempt from the sunset clause because it takes time for these to get completed. And the same thing with the transportation analysis for Tosca Drive, Central Street, and Canton Street. We are planning to extend that to 2028. And like we said earlier, these are all, you've got a lot of things to do when you're doing this. You have to do the engineering design. That has to start. And then you have to go, Mark, and explain this.
Well, one of the projects is the Tosca Drive project. You all know how long projects like that take, especially when they're funded through the state and you got to follow their process. The project's near completion, but behind the scenes, the closeout of the project won't happen for about 1.5 years. So that's why we need that date extended.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the audience? All right, we will move on to the next article, which is of the agenda for tonight, is from the special town meeting warrant on Article 1, unpaid bills.
Article 1, unpaid bills. We do not have any unpaid bills at this time. So we are anticipating at town meeting, we will be withdrawing this. The departments will still have time right up to town meeting to submit us with unpaid bills. And unpaid bills, when they've neglected to pay their bills, they have to pay it out of the current year budget. There will not be any supplemental funding. So I think that's why we're finding that we aren't having unpaid bills on the warrants.
So people started learning their lesson after the fall one?
I believe so. I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but in general, people are actually doing what we need them to do.
So like, right, because I could see, like we talked about, like, if a bill came due, like the expense happened June 29th, but we didn't get the bill to afterwards and it didn't get encumbered. Now we have to bring it to an article because we can't pay that.
Correct. And, like I said, the departments are working very diligently and we're staying on top of them, checking the invoices. We start pretty much harassing them in May to call your vendors, get all your invoices in. Some of them can be encumbered, but if they come in after our encumbrance date, they have to go to unpaid bills. So they're following directive. They're doing an excellent job and they should be commended for that. So potentially we will be withdrawing that or dismissing it at town meeting.
Thank you. Okay. And now Article 12, rescind unauthorized and unissued,
We do not have anything to rescind this year. We will be looking at that again come the fall or the spring, because we do have a lot of outstandings that we want to get those cleared up. Anything we need to borrow, we want to borrow now. The only authorized unissued that we have is under the CPC, which we can discuss when we get to the CPC budget. But there are no articles at this time.
Thank you. Do you anticipate any showing up between now and
I
May
do
4th?
not,
Thank you.
because we already have the information and there's nothing I feel that we can deal with right now. Last year, we closed out almost 6 million, so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Any questions, comments from anyone? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. You may have mentioned this when I was attending the other meeting. Why aren't we doing any of the cable business tonight?
We didn't do the cable business tonight because Anya, who's the station manager, is away on vacation this week, and I did not realize that till after. So I was asked if I would extend it to when she was back, could be here to speak on their budget.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You're welcome. And all right, I would like to, I guess, there is going to be no other business. So could we have a motion to continue the public hearings on the special and the annual town meeting to Wednesday, March 4th?
Second.
So we have a motion to continue. I'll do them separately so we don't mess up. A motion to continue the public hearing on the annual town meeting to March 4th. We have a move and a second. All those in favor of that motion? Aye. All those opposed? And for the record, the motion was made by Joel and seconded by Becca. I need a motion to continue the public hearing on the special town meeting to Wednesday, March 4th. Made by Joel and seconded by Jonna. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Say aye. We're right. No one's opposed. That motion carries. So both of those public hearings will reconvene on Wednesday, March 4th. And at this point, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Before you do that, I have a request.
Sure.
The budget that you just gave us tonight is different than the budget that was transmitted by you.
Then
a
that was
week ago.
probably my mistake. There have been a couple of different budgets that were sent to me.
Okay, so my request is, could we get the most up-to-date version of the budget?
Absolutely. And this will be
You could
going
send it
out.
out to everybody, that'd be very
Right.
helpful.
Mark, if you could do me a favor, just email it to me again so that I can find that one in my email at the top, and then I can just forward that all along.
I move we adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn has been seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
The award for the Finance Committee's Most Natural Redhead goes to, it was when I was younger.